Harshest punishments for the smallest crimes. Do you know that some people have to spend their whole lives in prison just because they stole the smallest of things? Do you think it is fair to give harsh punishments to people committing minor crimes at a young age? Well, if you think otherwise, then make sure to watch this video till the very end. It'll completely change the way you look at the justice system and will make you question the unfairness of some of the punishments. So let's get right into it. Number 1. Failed earthquake prediction. Back in 2009, Italy went through a massive earthquake that killed almost 300 people. Just a few days before the earthquake, Enzo Boschi, an Italian scientist, concluded that it was very unlikely for an earthquake to happen in the region. So the officials thought that there was no danger and didn't evacuate the area, costing the lives of more than 300 people. Do you know what happened next? The Italian officials blamed this natural disaster on Enzo. All 6 scientists involved in the prediction were sentenced to prison for 6 years just because they failed to predict an earthquake. It was later found in a study that it is hard for even scientists to predict. Though this conviction was overthrown in court in 2012, but the scientists still had to spend a couple of years in prison just because they couldn't accurately predict an earthquake. Does this seem fair to you? Number 2. Attempted suicide. Todd Hannigan went through a very rough childhood and a series of addictions over the years. He was so fed up with his life that he decided to commit suicide in 2009. So he took Vicodin and a beer bottle to the park. He had enough Vicodin that easily could have ended his life, but before he swallowed any of the pills, he was arrested by the police for having alcohol in a public place. Also, he was in possession of 31 pills of Vicodin. So he ended up getting punished for 15 years in prison, as it was mandatory for anyone who possessed 14 to 28 grams of Vicodin. He wanted to end his life, and instead got a life sentence in a prison where he probably wouldn't be able to commit suicide either. Number 3. Not delivering the mail. Do you know that there's a man named Gabriel March Grandos from Spain who received a life sentence of 384,912 years just because he didn't deliver more than 42,000 mails? He committed fraud according to Spain's law, and not delivering one letter gets you 9 years in prison. So, for all 42,000 letters, Grandos received more than 38,000 years in prison. It is the longest prison time ever given to a criminal in Spain. This was quite an outrageous punishment, so the Spanish prosecution requested for a shorter sentence for Grandos. And though it was reduced, but he'll still have to spend the rest of his life in prison. Back in 2013, another man did the same thing and didn't deliver 45,000 mails, but he didn't receive the same punishment. In fact, he was only sentenced to 6 months in prison and had to pay a $15,000 fine. The name of this person was Morse, and he was divorced and had to take care of his children too. The defense made a strong case for Morse, and he was saved from spending thousands of years in prison. Number 4. Stole from his own house. When Lance Saltzman was 22 years old, he got sentenced to life in prison without any parole. It happened because Lance stole his stepfather's gun. He did it because his stepfather used to point the gun at his mother and even pulled the trigger once, but fortunately missed. So Lance stole the gun to save his mother and sold it to one of his friends. This friend goes on and uses the same gun for a robbery. But once the friend got caught, he immediately said that Lance gave him the gun. Lance already had a burglary on his record from when he was 16 years old, so he was sentenced yet again according to Florida's laws of reoffender. He received a life sentence where he couldn't get parole, and all because he stole a gun from his own house. Number 5. Started a blog in Saudi Arabia. Back in 2014, Raif Badawi was sentenced to 10 years of prison and 1,000 lashes just because he started a blog in Saudi Arabia. This blog usually talked about women's rights, human rights, and overall secular practices. The Saudi government felt threatened and said that he was trying to show the wrong path to the people of this country and he was insulting their religion. Since 2014, Raif has been in prison and receives 50 lashes every week. His condition is deteriorating with every passing day, and doctors say that these lashes are going to make his condition worse. Raif also has 3 children and a wife who relocated to Canada and is still struggling to get Raif out of prison. Imagine being in prison and experiencing this level of cruelty just because you used your freedom of speech. Number 6. Stealing a jacket. Back in 1996, Timothy Jackson was sentenced to life in prison without any parole only because he shoplifted a jacket from New Orleans worth $159. Timothy was 36 during this time, and he was also known for substance abuse. He got caught after shoplifting the jacket, and it wasn't the first offense on his record. He had 2 convictions and a burglary earlier too, so the Louisiana court declared him a 4th strike offender and gave him a life in prison where he couldn't even get parole. All this was only because he stole a jacket worth $159, and he's forced to spend the rest of his life in prison. So do you think these punishments are fair? And do these criminals deserve to be behind bars for their whole life? Tell us in the comments section. Also, make sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. We'll see you in the next video.